And now Mr. Mooney reads a book.
Kirby, would you sing to me? Sure, Miss Piggy. What would you like? Whatever you want. It's not easy being green. Not that one! Oh, okay. Someday we'll find. Not that one! La cucaracha. La cucaracha. No! Well, Miss Piggy,
Hi. Sorry. Just having some fun. Kermit, Miss Piggy. Okay. So today, I am Jim Henson by Brad Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Iliopoulos, and it is published by Penguin Books in the United States. Hope you enjoy. I am Jim Henson by Brad Meltzer. I like this book fine so far. It hasn't started yet. That's what I like about it. Ha ha. I am Jim Henson. Oh, good. You're here. What's the fun of a story if you don't have anyone to share it with? Growing up in Mississippi, I used to love to watch birds. I even made my own book, where I'd list each bird I saw and add my own drawings. That bird up there is my favorite, the blackbird. Blackbirds have fun personalities, and I also love their name, the Grackle. Don't you just love funny names like that? My whole life, I've loved kooky words. Want to know what else I loved? Laughing. As a kid, this was one of my favorite family jokes. My mom used to play it on me and my brother. Say when. Gee, that's enough. Mom, that's enough. Mom! You didn't say when. At 8 years old, I'd come here to the movie theater every Saturday. This was my favorite place. For 15 cents, I could get a big bag of popcorn and spend the whole day watching cartoons, newsreels, action movies, and comedies. My favorites were the ones with wild clothing in far-off locations, like the Old West or foreign countries. The rest of the week, my friends and I would recreate what we saw in the movies, using homemade props and costumes. Look, the great snake charmer! Look, a star! Tattoo! With a little imagination, we'd start pretending there was no limit to what we could create. My grandparents played a big role in my life. I got my middle name Maury from my grandfather, who loved to laugh too, but he never laughed at anyone, never made fun of people. As for my grandmother, she was my best audience. When she came over to visit, we'd used to paint, glue, and crayons to make the most amazing art projects. She was the one that encouraged me to draw things that made me happy. Monsters with giant mouths and birds with big eyes. Ta-da! I adore it, Jimmy. Now tell me a story about each creature. Those days with my grandmother changed my life. She encouraged me to tell stories. She supported my love of reading. And she was amazing with a needle and thread. She could sew anything. What is it? It's a coat made out of an army blanket. Like it? Gee, I really do. But the most important thing she taught me was that my imagination, I could do anything. I could be anything, including a performer. One night, during a skit in Cub Scouts, I had one of my friends stand in front of everyone with his hands behind his back. Then I put my own hands in. What's so funny? I'm being serious here. I can still hear the crowd laughing. I always loved good performance. Growing up, I listened to shows on the radio, like Green Hornet, The Shadow, and one of my favorite comedians, a ventriloquist named Edgar Bergen. Even though Edgar Bergen did the voices, I never thought Charlie McCarthy or his other characters were puppets. They were human to me. His work was magic. Magic in the real sense. It seemed impossible. That's what magic is. It creates wonder. It creates dreams that inspire. I'd seen their pictures in the newspapers. But here, with each show, an ordinary object came to life. Once upon a time, a long, long ago. Funny, nothing ever happens nowadays. Something happened when Edgar spoke through Charlie. The puppeteer wasn't just sharing jokes. He was sharing the best parts of himself. And people were listening. When I was 13, a new technology changed my life. At a friend's house, I saw the invention called television. You have a television? We just got it. Isn't it cool? Can we get a TV? Can we get a TV? Can we get a TV? Can you please stop? Sure. Now can we get a TV? I wouldn't give up. Soon, my parents gave in. On TV, I found comedians like Sid Caesar, Milton Berle, and Jack Benny. One of my favorites was Ernie Kovich, he who tilted the set and camera so everything slid sideways. I especially love variety shows, which had big casts that would sing, dance, and do comedy. And there was Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, a show where puppets made jokes and sang with a human co-star. The way they talked to each other, it was like those puppets were alive. Right away, I knew one thing. I wanted to work in television. At 16 years old, I went looking for a job at the local TV stations. Sorry, kid. Sorry, kid. Sorry, kid. There has to be another place that'll hire me. They all said no. But like the time I begged from my dad for a TV, I never gave up. Soon after, a local station announced it was looking for a puppeteer. I'd never used a puppet before, but my whole life I'd loved creating. This was a job I wanted. So how'd I get it? The same way you get any dream. Hard work. I went to my high school library, took out books on puppetry, built a few puppets, and went back to the station. Now I'm a puppeteer. Will you hire me? They gave me a chance. That was all I needed. Was my first show a success? No, it got canceled. But did I give up? Not a chance. My partner and I continued creating, continued working hard, and eventually we got our own 5 minutes before the Tonight Show. Along the way, we came up with a name for our characters. We called them Muppets, playing around with the word puppet, but really, it was just a fun word, like grackle. By the way, this is Jane. She worked on shows with me. We're going to get married one day. Wait, we get married? Don't ruin the ending. Our show was called Sam and Friends. We needed a new puppet, and the answer was right in plain sight. I was 18 years old and found my mother's old wool coat. I cut it apart and sewed a new body. My grandmother taught me that one. I gave it a pointed face. I glued on halves of ping pong ball for eyes, and then I became the one who performed his voice. Yes, he was turquoise back then. He wasn't even a frog, but he did have a name. Kermit. With each show, I kept inventing new characters, dreaming up new ways to make people laugh. On TV, unlike a puppet stage, there were no walls, so we could film our Muppets from far away or bring them really close for an easy laugh. And while old-fashioned puppets had frozen expressions, our Muppets' faces could move. We could do faces that were funny, angry, or sad. To make our Muppets seem even more real, we crossed their eyes slightly. This gave them focus. Now they started to come alive. But you know the real secret? Practice. We would practice in a mirror over and over until it was just right. The only way people would feel a sense of wonder was if they could give each character a life of its own. Let's do it again, fella. This is Jerry Jewell, who writes for the Muppets, Don Solon, who helps build the Muppets, and Frank Oz, who will be the voice of performer of Grover, and even Yoda. Who's Yoda? Don't ruin the ending. We did commercials and performed on other shows, but like so much of life, it was just training for our next adventure. 2 TV producers named Joan Gans Cooney and John Stone were about to give me the opportunity of a lifetime. We want to create a show that will change the lives of children, especially those whose families don't have a lot of opportunities. We want a show that can help them learn to read and count. It can be funny, right? They even had a name for it. Sesame Street! Since kids love the Muppets, we built Muppets who could interact directly with the kids. We began with a big yellow bird who called himself Sesame Street, who was a child himself. That's me, I'm Big Bird. Then we added a grouchy green monster named They Know Who I Am. On November 10th, 1969, the first episode aired. It was a smash hit. Every episode, Sesame Street taught the ABCs. C is for cookie. And the 1, 2, 3s. That's 4. 4 beautiful bats. It was one of the first shows to have kids of different races playing and learning together. It taught kids how to share, how to take turns, and how to get along. Certainly, with all its zany creatures, it made us laugh. But at its best, with songwriters like Joe Raposo, Sesame Street made us think, especially about the kind of people we wanted to be.
Green's the color of spring, and green can be cool and friendly like, and green can be big like an ocean, or important like a mountain, or tall like a tree.
Through song, the whole world heard the green, and all of us can be anything. Isn't it beautiful to see the world like that? In fact, Kermit's humor never came from making fun of people. It came from bringing us together. By focusing on the good in everyone, my own sense of wonder took over, and my dream of entertaining others came true. The Muppets and I went on a new adventure and got to bring along some favorite old friends.
It's the Muppet Show with our very special guest, Edgar Bergen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh boy, what a crowd! I don't approve of belly dancers. Why can't they dance on the floor like everyone else? Waka waka!
Good grief, that comedian's a bear.
Every week on The Muppet Show, frogs, pigs, bears, and creatures of all kind reminded the world that despite all the chaos,
Chaos!
sorry about that, folks. As I was saying, on The Muppet Show and on Sesame Street, I wanted our audience to know that despite all the chaos and despite our differences, there is nothing more fun than being together. From there, I never stopped creating and dreaming. In fact, the more we performed, the more fun we had. And the more my dream grew, bringing millions of people together. What can possibly be more magical than that?
Life is like a movie. Write your own ending. Keep believing, keep pretending. We've done just what we set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and you.
In my life, I love to create, but the secret behind my best creations wasn't a strong hand or a catchy song or even a funny voice. It was a simple idea. There's good in all of us. Sure, we're all different. Some of us have beards or no hair or blue fur or green flippers, but goodness lives in each of us. That's an idea that should never get old. Believe in the good of the world. Create something new. Share what you love. And find others who believe in those favorite things you dream about. Together, we can make magic. Today, Sesame Street is watched by millions of kids in more than 150 countries worldwide, from Brooklyn to Bangladesh. At its peak, The Muppet Show was watched by over 235 million people per week. Did you know he even started the Jim Henson Foundation to promote and develop the art of puppetry? Not to ruin the ending, but is this the ending? I think that's the secret. As long as there are new dreamers, new people who love to entertain and pretend, this is a story that never ends. Guess what? I want to create cool things just like you. Gee, thanks. Thank you so much. Don't let anything stop you. It starts when we're kids. That's when we learn some of the best things in life. Laughing, sharing, imagining, dreaming, creating. Never stop doing them. And never stop being kind. There's nothing wrong with being a do-gooder. I'm Jim Henson, and I will keep believing and keep pretending. The end.